Welcome back to the Shermer High Alumni Association, the podcast where we, three Gen X sisters, rewatch the movies that shaped us,
warped us,
and taught us that bartender poetry, booze, and toxic masculinity apparently make a solid business plan.
Today, we're shaking things up with the 1988 classic, Cocktail.
the bottle flipping epic that serves up basic white girl island romances, Wall Street pipe dreams, and an insane mentor with a god complex.
Also, shout out to our girl Elisabeth Shue, who deserves better yet again.
So mix yourself something frozen and fruity, crank up the Beach Boys, and join us as we revisit the movie that made flair bartending a thing. This is Cocktail. Hey guys.
Hi.
Oh, good. Hi.
How are you?
Top-
We're all in the same time zone.
Yes, top of the
Shut
morning
up.
to ya.
Top of the morning.
Well, welcome to the East Coast, Kristen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We just got on this time zone maybe about 2 days ago. It took us almost a week.
That's rough. That
It
3-hour
is.
difference is, it's
I know,
killer.
it should be nothing. It should be nothing.
Oh, it's rough.
And yet it was. So we buckled down and watched this week's movie the other night. And I'm going to tell you, this is not what I remember. And I'm wondering if what I just remember is what was in maybe the Kokomo music video. I don't know. I'm just thinking of that right now.
That makes sense.
Tavia was even like, what? This is not the movie I remember at all. So I don't know. I don't know if Carol, had you seen this before?
That's a very good question.
Okay, cool.
I don't recall ever watching it from start to end. I remember seeing bits and pieces of it, but I don't think I ever really grasped the entire storyline and knowing what it was all about.
I still haven't grasped the entire storyline. So Cocktail, which is this week's movie, it came out in 1988. And it is the story of Brian Flanagan, who is played by a young Tom Cruise. He returns home to New York City from the Army, which we're going to have to discuss that. And he wants one thing: a high-paying marketing job. And he runs into roadblocks there. He becomes a bartender to help pay for business school. And his boss, Doug Coughlin, played by Bryan Brown, mentors him. And I'm going to put mentors in the
That's loose.
loosest of terms. They learn how to do, Doug teaches him how to do flair bartending, which is basically throwing the bottles all around and making drinks. And they get very popular, and yeah. And then Brian wants to branch out. He really wants to make this bar that Doug came up with, Cocktails and Dreams. He wants to make that a reality. However, the girl that Brian was dating, played by, I'm forgetting her name now.
Gina Gershom?
Oh, yes. Doug ends up sleeping with her. And I think he tells her some bullshit about Brian. And so that ends basically Brian and Doug's friendship. And Brian moves to Jamaica for a hot minute to raise money to open his own bar. And that's where we get into white girl summer, hot girl summer in Jamaica. And he meets artist Jordan Mooney, who is played by Elisabeth Shue. And they fall in love until they don't. And then complications ensue. And that is Cocktail in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good nutshell.
Yeah. That's as much sense as I think we can make of it.
Agreed.
And so our main cast here is Tom Cruise, who we all know. He is a Hollywood icon. His films, I don't know how true this is, but his films have grossed over $13 billion worldwide.
Well, I believe it.
Yeah, easily.
He is one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. And he's a Scientology bro.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He might own Scientology now. I don't really know. But that's Mr. Tom Cruise. He's still out there. He's still acting. Then we have Brian. What?
Was he nominated for anything for this wonderful film?
He was nominated for Worst Actor.
Okay.
By the Razzies, I think. Yeah. So
Really?
which
Wait, he was only nominated. He didn't win.
I don't think he won it. No. And there's a interesting fun fact about that. He was in 1988, Mr. Cruise starred in Cocktail, but he also starred in Rain Man.
Of course.
Interesting.
Two very different movies and two very different Tom Cruises, right?
And he was, what, 26 at the time for both?
Right.
Oh,
And
jeez.
right. So that's why I don't think he was a bad actor necessarily in Cocktail. I think it had a lot to do with the guy. I don't remember what the guy's name, the book. I don't think it was Tom Cruise, right? And that's probably why he didn't win Worst Actor, because it was the script, it was the directing, I don't think it was Tom. Unlike, say, and this was far from his first movie. Yeah, if there's anything I'm picking out of this movie, it's not Cruise's acting. So Doug Coughlin is played by Bryan Brown, who's an Australian actor. So we don't know too much about him. The only thing that I saw in his bio that was like, oh, okay, was that he was in the Thornbirds, which neither one of you may remember.
No.
No.
Okay, yeah. So outside of that, I don't think he really did anything notable, but he's still around, and I believe he is still acting. And then we got our girl, Elisabeth Shue.
Oh, Elisabeth.
So I was like, well, we've already kind of done a bio on her. So I went a little bit of a different route this time because we kind of focused on her career. This is what I came up with last night. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am Nancy Drew. She grew up in Jersey, and her mother's maiden name was Brewster. And she is a descendant of the Pilgrim leader, William Brewster, in which Brewster, Massachusetts is named after.
Wow.
There we
is
go.
A stretch, Kristen.
I know. It's true, but She is a descendant of the Pilgrim leader, William Brewster, and if you Google that guy, he
I
is
wonder if Elisabeth Shue even knows this.
oh, she does.
Are you
Yeah.
sure?
Because I think her mother yeah, I'm pretty sure she knows this. So, she is also the sister of Andrew Shue,
Mm, okay.
best known for his role in Melrose Place.
Andrew Shue.
Elizabeth attended Wellesley and then transferred to Harvard in 85, but she ended up dropping out before earning her degree. And then fast forward into 2000, she actually went back to Harvard and completed her BA in government.
I love that.
Right.
Nice.
So some more factoids about our girl, Elisabeth Shue.
Good for her. So Cocktail brought in 78.2 million. Is that our highest gross that we've done yet? It might be.
I don't know if this is I don't think this is an opening weekend. I think it's a total 100
Well, that was North American and 93.3 million internationally.
right.
And a total of 171.5 million worldwide. And its budget was 20 million. That's a pretty high budget, but
It feels like the most profitable movie we've
yes.
watched
Yeah.
so far,
Oh, guaranteed.
which is crazy
Yeah.
because this is not a good movie.
Well, okay, so did Cocktail come out after Rain Man? Do we know that? Because maybe everyone was thinking
Everyone
like,
was like
how
supercharged.
great, yeah, how great Rain Man was and how,
So July 29th is when Cocktail came out. And Rain Man didn't come out till December.
wow, they had 2 movies within a few months of each other. That's
But then,
great.
so what was Tom Cruise in prior to Cocktail? Oh, Top Gun. Well, then.
Oh, okay.
So Risky Business. Sorry, we sound like idiots. What was he in before this? Okay.
Well, the 80s are just all kind of run together. So
They really do, and I don't know what year is what but things that are popping out are Outsiders, Risky Business, Top Gun, Color of Money. So he's hot, right? Like
yes.
he is like the guy. And then
And
Cocktail.
And then you
happened.
see a movie where he's flipping bottles. Yeah, you're gonna go see that. Okay, sign me up.
Yeah, I want to see the trailer for this movie because
Oh, it has him throwing bottles and
yeah,
smiling,
like
and there you go. You're sold.
both yeah, but both Tavia and I were like, wasn't there like a contest that had to be won? Wasn't there like we just didn't remember this movie the way it was at all, which I'm sure is going to
Ooh.
happen for us for a lot of movies, but
I like the
Thanks.
concept of a flair bartender contest.
yeah, we both thought something like that happened. And
We
so
haven't seen it in 100 years, so I mean,
I know, but I think I don't know if I mentioned this already, but so in the same year, he was nominated for Worst Actor and Best Actor.
Wow. Well, that's an accomplishment.
Right. I mean, he is the only actor to have achieved that.
I personally do not think his acting was that bad.
no.
Right. I mean, you could have had Meryl Streep in this movie, and they would have said Meryl Streep was bad. It wouldn't have mattered because the script was bad. The adaptation of the book was not good.
Okay, I'm today years old to realize there's a book on this.
Who is the
Gold. It's Gould.
Haywood Gould, based on the book of the same name.
Yeah.
All right.
So Gould got a lot of shit from this movie too, because he had a lot of, he wrote his own screenplay,
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
right? So it was like, you wrote the book, bruh. The
Just because
screenplay
you can
should,
write a book doesn't mean you can write a screenplay.
and this is a very
Good representation
excellent,
of that.
hopefully this is taught in film schools of how not to do a movie.
Right.
But yeah, it was released summer of 88. I think this was, summer of 88. So it was Buena Vista Pictures at the time, which is Disney. I did not know this. Buena Vista Pictures, which is owned by Disney, had an adult film label, Touchstone. So Buena Vista just didn't want to put like R-rated movies under the Buena Vista name, so they created Touchstone.
Apparently.
I know, that's a whole different conversation. Like, I get it. But critics didn't like it.
No.
That's rude. 9%? I think Howard the Duck got more than that.
Right? What did Howard get? Ow. I think he got 13. Oh my God, it
Yeah.
was 13.
Jeez.
Yeah.
The New York Times contributed to that, calling it an upscale, utterly brainless variation on those efficient old B movies of the 30s and 40s about the lives, loves, and skills of coal miners, sandhogs, and telephone linemen, among others. What?
What? That is so specific.
What were they smoking when they wrote that?
Yikes.
But think about it. I get it. I had to read this one a couple times. It's kind of like how Tootsie was reviewed, but this one's super negative. Is that this was, but they dressed him up as an army vet, of like having the big dreams and accomplishing the big dreams from nothing. That's what I get out of this gist of come from behind success story. Because I guess if you do look at it, Bryan at the beginning of the film versus Bryan at the end of the film, okay, you got your bar.
Yes. All of his dreams came true.
Okay.
Siskel and Ebert were pretty rough, explaining that the more you think about what really happens in Cocktail, the more you realize how empty and fabricated it really is. And Siskel considered the love story totally ridiculous and wished the film would have instead centered on the master and apprentice relationship between Coughlin and Flanagan. Both critics put it as their worst films of 88 list. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Focusing on the master and apprentice relationship doesn't really add any drama, but it would have been an interesting concept.
Way, if they didn't feel the need to insert like the romance part of it, or the way that it did. Like, I see that. I mean, I'll be honest, I never read the book.
But then I don't feel like they would have gotten their crowd. Like they're going towards these women that are now madly in love with Tom Cruise,
Right.
who want to see drama, not apprentice relationship. I mean, they already kind of had that with Rain Man.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would have been as successful nearly.
Yeah, the success of this movie versus the critical acclaim is really mind-boggling. Like a 9% grossed $171 million.
Yeah,
Like,
that's weird.
all right.
Did anyone have anything positive to say on it?
I didn't find any.
Okay.
Mm.
Wow.
If anyone finds it, let us
And yet
know.
it's like it's an icon. Like everyone knows
Is
it.
it?
And everyone
Everyone knows it because of Kokomo. Everyone knows it because it was sort of the Beach Boys
exotic. Yeah.
comebacky sort of thing. And then, wait, was Don't Worry, Be Happy in this movie?
Yes.
It's the soundtrack
Yep.
that
And the hippie hippie shake.
the hippie hippie shake. Yeah, it's the music.
Mhm.
But I do remember, and I might be dating myself, Kokomo music video.
Yeah, because this is from the movie.
See?
Yeah, was this concert in the movie?
No, no. Look at how fun this all is.
Yeah, they make it look like this is the movie.
Yeah. What? This is so fun.
There
Wait,
was no concert in the movie.
look at they're so in love.
And it looks like in 1988 terms, a modern like Back to the Beach.
Like this was a huge deal, right? The Beach Boys back together doing this. So that was like a real big deal to people like our mom.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's why, honestly, it's not the story. Which sucks because it's a I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind as we get through the scenes. You guys ready to do it?
Let's
Yep.
go.
Let's go.
So we begin the movie where we see a Greyhound bus and there's a police car following it with its lights on. And the cops pull over the Greyhound bus, and these 6 military guys get out of this, what appears to be a cop car. And Tom Cruise gets out of that car, and he ends up actually getting on the Greyhound bus that they stopped. And the whole group says goodbye to him. So we quickly realize that Tom Cruise was in the military, and they're stopping the bus because he misses bus home. So he's traveling on this bus, and he ends up getting off of the bus, and he's now in New York City. He gets onto the subway, and he ends up at his Uncle Pat's bar, and his Uncle Pat is very happy to see him again. Uncle Pat is kind of, hey, what are you going to do now?
Well, hold on. So can we back that up? Uncle Pat's happy to see him, right?
Yep.
They see each other outside on the street. I'm like, I
Yes.
don't know. He puts his arm. You're home from the wars.
Yeah, you're home from the wars.
Okay, let's just put this in perspective for a moment. This is set in present day. So this was the setting of this movie is 1988.
Right. There
Okay.
was,
What wars was he coming back from? Come on.
yeah, what wars?
You could have, that line could have been written so many different ways, but that one just stuck with me. I'm like, I had to go online. I'm like, we weren't in any wars in 1988.
Right.
But anyway, it was such a generic statement, and I was like, what?
What wars? Yeah.
Just the
that's what-
plural war, the wars.
Right.
Okay.
If he would have said war, then it might have been like he just mistake that for being in the military. But
Right. Or service, home from service.
Right.
It could have been written any way but this way.
yeah,
Okay.
it was
Just-
strange.
Fun fact, kids, there were no wars that the United States was involved in 1988.
Correct.
Continue.
Basically, Tom Cruise, whose character is Brian. So Brian says, I'm going to make $1 million and I'm not going to get married. No way.
Carol, what would $1 million be today?
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
She's the converter.
She is the converter. And I was like, $1 million? That's not much. But I want to know
Not
what it,
today.
not today, but I want to know what that means today. She'll get back to us, but yeah.
So now we see Bryan interviewing for jobs. He really wants to work on Wall Street. He's getting turned down left and right. Basically, he's getting this feedback. You need to go back to school. You really need more experience.
How did he even get the interviews? Like that,
I don't
was
know.
like, how did they even call you
Probably
in?
because he had military. I mean, usually they're impressed by
Maybe.
military experience, but they were probably like,
But
yeah,
everyone's no, bro.
yeah, no, thank you. And he just randomly walks past a TGI Fridays that has a now hiring sign in the window. So he decides, you know what, I'm just going to go in there and talk to the manager.
It wasn't actually a TGI Friday.
Yes, it was. So at first, I
So they
didn't realize
don't
that's
show
what
it until
was.
later.
Right.
What?
They don't show it till later that it was a TGI Friday. So when you see this scene, you're just like, oh, it's just a bar.
It's just a bar.
But
Yeah.
then later on, they showed the outside of it again, and it's got a TGI Friday sign
Yeah,
on the
like
top.
much later.
So I went back and added that it was TGI Fridays. So yeah, at first you don't realize that that's what it is, but it is a TGI Fridays.
Which makes sense with the waitress uniforms now.
Yes.
Flair.
So
Seeing red and
Flair.
white stripes with the
Yes.
flare.
Okay.
And the conversion is 2.7 million.
Oh, okay.
So
I
he's
mean,
what, like 25 years old, looking to make bank
yeah.
just off the rip.
Off a wish and a prayer.
So he walks in and they're like, hey, we're closed. And that's when he meets Doug Coughlin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's behind the bar and he's, hey, have you ever bartended before? And Bryan's, no, but I'm a quick learner.
He was kind of cocky about it though, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
deal.
Anyone can be a bartender.
Yeah, I can do this. So Doug's like, all right, we'll just throw you behind the bar tonight. And I mean, obviously he has a very rough time handling that bar for the first night.
Right. He gets served up.
He was sweating. He had no idea what he was making. People were calling out drinks that he's like, how do you make that?
Right. So he went from cocky to
humbled real fast.
I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
So yeah, I mean, he had a real rough night, and you see the end of the night, he's wringing out his socks
from all the liquor he poured all over himself all night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Gross.
was disgusting. And one of the waitresses is, Kira, you get 10% of the tip money. And Doug's like, all right, you can have the job. Come back on Thursday. So the next scene, we see Bryan registering for college. And then we kind of go back to the bar. And he's learning from Doug. These are the essential rules of bartending. Less is more. The less you pour, the more you score. If the boss does better, we do better. We dazzle him with ice work and dazzle him with bottle work. So he learns the short pour, the long pour, the ice mountain, the spring thaw, the speed rack shuffle, the hot shot. And Bryan will learn them all. And Bryan says, yes, Obi-Wan.
Oh, I missed that.
How do these bottles fly without the liquor flying everywhere?
So they have a little ball inside of them. So it has a long spout with a ball. And when they're turned over, that ball actually blocks it from pouring out.
It's the ones they use today, the Exacto pours.
Mm-hmm.
That you pour an exact shot. So you're not over pouring. They have that automatic kind of lock.
Yeah. So now Bryan has learned some bottle work and some tricks, and the waitresses
so proud of him.
Yep, the waitresses are like, wow, super cool. And Doug tries to give Bryan a shot at the end of their shift, and Bryan's, no, I'll stick with beer. And Doug's, beer is for breakfast around here. Drink or be gone, which was interesting. So now Bryan's in school. His professor says that most people are there for a career in investment banking or some other socially useful pursuit. And his first assignment is to write their own obituaries. And so we kind of go back to this scene where Bryan is at the end of a shift and he's sitting in the TGI Fridays writing his obituary. And this was a side note that I wrote. His obituary, he says that he was super rich and died at the age of 99. So Bryan Flanagan was super rich. He died at the age of 99 while bedding his 18-year-old seventh wife, Heidi,
Gross.
who's recovering from exhaustion at a local hospital and will be unable to attend the funeral. And Doug and Bryan are laughing about it. It's what? So that was a super cringy moment. So Bryan's back in school. He's fallen asleep in class, obviously, because he's bartending at night and going to school during the day. And his professor starts yelling at him, but he's killing it as a bartender at nighttime. So he's got it down. He's dancing, he's doing tricks. And at night, that's when he's doing his homework, is at the restaurant. Back in school, he's just being a smartass to his professors and basically tells the professors that, like, hey, the only reason why you're here teaching us is because you can't hack it in the real world. And the professor gives him an F in the course. And obviously, this is where Bryan ends up flunking out of school.
I loved this scene.
Yeah.
There's so many professors I wish I would have said that to. Who the hell are you to talk to me like that? Or
I was like, well, and also I was like, oh my God, this is how people talked to each other. And it was just like, whatever. I was like, can you imagine somebody talking to a student like that today?
No. And like, I just think of like our dad, because our dad does teach college courses. And I'm like, I hope nobody ever talks to our dad like that.
well, I
Oh,
don't think
gosh.
he would dish it.
Because our dad is super cool. So there's no way that I don't think anybody would ever talk to our dad like that.
No.
I think this professor deserved how he was talked to.
Yeah, he was a little.
Yeah,
over the top.
he was an asshole. So
He's not teaching, he's just judging.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bryan and Doug are back and they're talking about how they're going to make a ton of money and that there's investors out there. There are rich women out there that have no idea what to do with their money. And basically that what they should do is come together to open their own bar. And Doug comes up with the idea of Cocktails and Dreams, which is this bar that they just need money for to open, where they can do all their dancing and flair and they would make a ton of money. So that's what they're focused on, is let's make a ton of money and one day we may be able to open this bar. So people are really drawn to them. I mean, obviously this TGI Fridays is packed every time that they're working. And the one night that they're there, this guy from another bar comes in and he's, hey, I want to hire you guys. You guys are amazing. And so now we see them at this new bar called the Cell Block. And the customers of the Cell Block are all chanting in this, we want a poem, we want a poem. And Bryan jumps up on the bar and he starts reciting this poem.
Well, he doesn't recite a poem. He
Well,
makes it up.
Yeah, is it cipher? Is that the correct word? Maybe.
Okay. Oh, no.
What?
Okay.
What?
Hold on. Now I have to look up what the word cipher means because maybe I'm quoting it wrong.
A word for just making up poetry?
Okay, so it's used in hip hop as freestyle. So he's freestyling. Poetry. Okay. He says, I see America drinking the fabulous cocktails I make. America's getting stinking and something I stir or shake. The sex on the beach, the schnapps made from peach, the velvet hammer, the Alabama slammer. I make things with juice and froth. The pink squirrel, the three-toed sloth. I make drinks so sweet and snazzy. The iced tea, the kamikaze, the orgasm, the death spasm, the Singapore sling, the ding-a-ling. America, you're just devoted to every flavor I've got. But if you want to get loaded, why don't you just order a shot? He takes a shot and then he yells, the bar's open. And we see Coral, who is a photographer, walk over to him as she's taking pictures of him. And she says, I want to try the orgasm. And he says, how many do you want? And she says, multiple, which is cringe.
Right. And it's Gina Gershon. And at that time, she was just like sex walking down a street.
Yeah.
There was no role she could be in where she wasn't that type of character, I swear to God.
Right.
But yeah, as an old lady, I was like, ew,
Yeah. Ew, come on, Coral.
together.
Of course, they're flirting with each other, and at the end of the night, they go back to her place. And this is like it's a real weird scene to me because they're just sort of rolling around in her bed and flipping each other over, and
Oh
It
my
was
God.
like
it was weird.
moaning and
What
laughing
was
and
that?
like
They were just like rolling
pillow
around and
fighting,
flipping. And
pillow fighting, and then like
there
Brian
was some screaming. And then I was like,
this is not how
what?
that works.
What
But
is happening exactly here?
yeah, I mean, like the first night, I guess if I picture it in my head of what it would be like to go home with someone the first night that you met them, I don't feel like this is what it would look like. Anyway, so Brian leaves and he's walking down the street and he does this, yes, I just bagged a babe. And so the next scene, they're at Brian's apartment and they're watching a boxing match. And they're all kind of like Coral and Brian are all cozy together, like they've been dating for a while. And Brian tells Doug, we can start Cocktails and Dreams with just $75,000. And you know where we can do this? We can do this in Jamaica. Because Coral actually has done shoots down there before for her photography. And she knows a bartender that makes between $300 and $400 a day. And that guy doesn't have half the talent that we do. So we could be making like a ton of money in Jamaica. Basically, what Doug says is like, where are we going to get that money from? The Tooth Fairy? We don't have $75,000. And at this scene, I'm like, oh, this is where Coral could be like, I have $75,000, but that doesn't happen. So we see Doug and
That is now
Right.
203,000.
yeah, no big deal. That was nothing.
Right.
But in that same scene, right, Doug tells Brian, this thing with this chick you got isn't going to last.
This is when they go and play basketball.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
like Coral was in that conversation with them about, hey, so then the next scene they go and play basketball. So Doug and Brian are playing basketball and Doug is, hey, I'm convinced that Coral is married or she's got to be sleeping with other dudes. And Brian's, I don't think so. I think she's just like a busy career lady. There's no way she's married. And so Brian kind of bets Doug $50 or $10 per 3-point shot. And he wins $50 from Doug. And then Doug bets him $50 that Coral will be in bed with another dude by the end of the week. So we're back at the bar. And Coral and Doug start making out. Brian is pretty shocked. And he's, what the hell is going on? And she comes over and says, hey, I lied. You're not going to be famous. Too bad that you couldn't keep your mouth shut about our sex life. It only gets better, which I guess I didn't really understand what she was talking about.
I
But
didn't either, but also
neither.
he didn't discuss that. So you know that Doug did some shady shit.
yeah. And so Brian goes over to Doug and he's, what the hell, dude? And Doug goes, well, I had to get my money back. So basically, because Doug was like, hey, I bet she'll be in bed with another dude, he decided, well, I'll be that other dude.
Right.
So Doug says, I did you a favor, man. And Brian's like, you fucking son of a bitch. And Doug's Coughlin's law, which I don't understand why he always has these little laws, but never tell tales about a woman. She'll hear you no matter how far away she is. And Brian knocks Doug out.
Yeah.
And Brian says, where I come from, you don't do that to your friends. And Doug actually goes after him with a broken bottle. And
Yeah.
you'll thank me one day for this. And Brian's, the fuck I will. So now we fast forward.
Well, I don't care. I don't understand where the drama is there. Like talking about their sex life, like obviously, chick, like you were in his apartment and all over him. This isn't new news.
Right.
I don't get where the issue was. Like this, there's something unseen there that happened. Perhaps that was in the book.
Yeah, it just seems kind of strange. Of course, Doug knew that they were having sex.
Right.
And it's not like when they were playing basketball that Bryan was like, "Oh my God, dude, you won't believe what I did to her the other night." They weren't having that kind of conversation. I
Right.
don't understand what she means about keeping his mouth shut. What did
Yeah.
he say?
There's a part missing there.
Yeah, it's something yeah, this you're
It
right.
was too dramatic for no reason.
Something got edited out of the
Yeah.
scene that
Yeah.
actually tied the scene together. But that exact point of time when he says, "The fuck I will," and now we're in Jamaica, there
Yeah.
is 0 transition.
I
Right.
thought that there was
It's like he doesn't even finish the sentence, "The
Mm-mm.
fuck I will," and
and now we're
you
in Jamaica.
Yep.
what?
Yeah. So now we're just in Jamaica and Bryan's a bartender there and he's cocky and he's got an
Still.
attitude for people. Yeah. And this is where we first see Elisabeth Shue and she runs up to the bar and obviously she's not babysitting anymore. And she says, "My friend passed out on the beach and I need a phone." And Bryan just jumps over the bar and starts running to the beach to help. And Elisabeth Shue, who is Jordan, says she was drinking champagne in the sun. And so they get an ambulance there and they're all loaded up. And Elisabeth Shue's in the back of the ambulance. And they obviously have some sort of attraction to each other. And yeah, and so I think she's well. And he says, "It has been an adventure, like an adventure in babysitting."
Ooh, good one.
And so we see we see Jordan kind of come back to the bar later that night and or no, it was the next day. And she's like, "Hey, thanks for all your help." And this is where we see Doug in the background, like behind all the people at the bar. And Doug walks over and he sits next to Jordan and he looks at her and he says, "Want to see a grown man cry like a baby?" And she looks at him like, "Dude, what the fuck?" And he goes, "Hey, bartender, do you know how to make a red eye?" And Bryan's facing the other way and you just see him shake his head like, "Oh no." And Doug says, "Coughlin's law, never show surprise, never lose your cool." And he goes, "Ah, my rebellious sons." Like, what?
Huh?
And then he looks at Jordan and he goes, "I taught this young man everything that he knows." And Jordan says, "I doubt that." So Doug is talking to Bryan and he's, "Hey, I'm married now. We're on our honeymoon." And Bryan's, "Wow, I mean, she really is married to him." And that night they all go dancing. So Jordan, Bryan, Carrie, and Doug are all at this whatever dance club that's on the beach. And everybody's dancing. Jordan and Bryan kiss at the end of the night. So this is where Jordan says, "So is this one night stand time?"
Yeah.
Huh?
Mm.
And no, they kind of separate. And so then we see Bryan and Jordan ride horses on the beach. And that must have been like the next morning because it's daylight out.
Mhm.
So they start spending a lot of time together and they're kind of building this relationship and they have this long conversation about they're kind of sitting in this restaurant eating a lunch and they're talking about how there's all these millionaires around them in Jamaica and how they would love to be millionaires. And I think this is where Bryan kind of talks about how he has these dreams about what he wants to be and be this big time bartender and make a ton of money. And then they go to this waterfall and they just make out a lot in the water and they're just sort of having make out waterfall time. And Jordan takes off her bathing suit and so does Bryan. And then we see them, I think, having sex at a bonfire and they're just sort of laying on the beach, kind of holding each other and talking about how we could build a hut on the beach and we could just live here forever. And Jordan's, "Yeah, I think our kids would really look great with dreadlocks." And he's, "Kids?" And we kind of cut back to where Bryan is bartending. And
Again, another scene transition where it's like night and day, right?
yeah,
Like, I
Like, it
just
just
feel like they
ends.
could have done something with Bryan's character that made this make more sense because of where we're about to go, right?
yeah,
Sorry.
he could
Go
have
ahead.
responded and been like, yeah, I'm
Well,
not.
no, he went from this romantic scene with Jordan into what you're about to just talk about.
Yeah, it just
It
really.
just doesn't make sense.
And it just makes Bryan look like a complete asshole.
Yeah, total
Mhm.
douchery. Yeah.
So Doug is at the bar, of course, with Bryan, and he's, what you need is like a rich lady. And Bryan's, well, I've been training for this my whole life. And hey, Doug goes, hey, speaking of rich ladies, there's a rich lady right across the bar. I know who she is, and she's loaded. And so Doug's, I'll bet you $50 that if you go over there and talk to her, you won't even make it over the bar, like past the bar. And so he goes over there and he starts flirting with this older lady who's obviously, I'm not interested. And she's, excuse me, do I have fuck me written on my forehead? And he responds, I can't see a thing without my contacts. And she apparently thinks that's funny. How? I don't know. And he walks away and throws a lit matchbook at her because she's trying to light a cigarette. And he somehow does this trick with a matchbook where he lights one match and it skids across the bar top and she is enamored. Wow. How did he do that? He's a bartender, dude.
That was pretty sweet.
So he turns around to the guys like, I'm just going to pretend like I didn't see how excited she was by that. And the guys are like, "Ah, man, tough luck." And she calls him back over and he kind of looks at the guys and he goes, "It wouldn't be any fun if they fell over with their legs in the air now, would it?"
What the fuck?
Jeez.
So another little cringe moment.
Yeah.
So now we see this scene where Jordan is start walking up to the bar at the closing. So everybody is scattered. They're gone. And we see Bryan walking off with that older woman and and she's hanging all over him because obviously she's wasted. And Jordan sees them walking off and she's hiding behind this beach umbrella watching them. And she just walks away and she goes to the beach and she just sits there and cries, which was really sad because I think as ladies, we've all kind of been there where a guy has done this to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she's just crying on the beach. And the next scene, we see Bryan getting up in the morning and he's just sitting on the edge of the bed in his underpants. And Bonnie is still sleeping. And he gets dressed and he leaves and he immediately goes to where Jordan is staying. And her friends are sitting outside at this table. And where's Jordan? Because I think he had this immediate regret. And her friends are like, oh, yeah, she left on a flight like real late last night. And
What'd you do to her?
her friend is like, what did you do to her anyway? So he's back at his place and he's just laying in bed and he's super sad. And he's just, shit, I fucked up. And somebody's knocking on his door and she's like, hey, it's Bonnie remember
From the sex.
remember from the sex, the old lady sex that you had? And he's like, yeah, come in. And she's like, I've been thinking about you all day. And he's like, yeah, plane ride home will cure that. And she's, well, what I've got, there ain't no cure for.
Gross.
You can't just send
So
me
gross.
away like that. I don't know what I'd do. My business would go to hell and I'll start writing bad checks.
What?
Wait,
Made no sense.
hold on a
What?
second. You had sex with some like 20-something-year-old kid and now all of a sudden you're just psycho? Come on. We can do better than this, okay? Come on. And he's like, well, we can't have that now, can we? And she starts barking like a dog. It's really weird. So that's another little cringy moment. So we go to this scene where Doug kind of offers Bryan this position as head bartender because Carrie's dad has hooked him up with a bar back home. And Brian's like, that's really great, but I really have my own plans. And Bonnie, the rich old lady, is going to hook me up with her business. And we're headed back to New York. Bartending sounds great, but I think I'm actually going to go into business with Bonnie. So he heads back to New York. They're staying in her beautiful apartment. And it's pretty obvious real quick that Brian's not happy being with Bonnie in New York.
Yeah, he's
He's the fuck boy.
Yeah, and
there you go. Thank you.
like she's just made him into
Yeah.
her like personal assistant fuckboy. And
He's her bitch.
yeah, and so he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to the business manager and have an interview." And she's just sort of like, "Yeah, not yet. We're getting to that.
Yeah.
Not yet." And he's kind of out walking around, and he walks past the restaurant that Jordan works at because she had mentioned where she works back in New York when they were talking. And he looks through the window like a stalker, and he's just watching her. And I guess he must be thinking like, well, there's no way I could really approach her. So we see this scene where Brian and Bonnie are at this event, and I couldn't really figure out where they were. Some sort of art gallery opening, and they're standing out front and they're chatting amongst Bonnie's friends. And he thinks, I have a feeling she's going to introduce me to these people and get me acquainted with these friends and colleagues of hers. And he quickly realizes, I'm not going to be included in this. And
Yeah,
so he walks away, and she goes, darling. And he's like, oh, good. She's going to introduce me.
Oh, yeah.
And he walks back over, and she's like, can you take my coat? And you can see on his face, like, I fucked up coming here. I really should not have come here. He goes inside, and he's just slamming alcohol. I mean, he's just like, I'm just going to get drunk and mad. And Bonnie finally introduces him to this sculptor of these really horribly ugly sculptures. And they get into this tussle. And it's almost like the sculptor starts it.
He was kind of passive aggressive to him.
Yeah. And he's like, you're drunk. And Brian just starts fighting him back. And so they start like punching each other. And Brian punches the sculptor, and then the sculptor guy punches Brian in the mouth. And it gets pretty ugly, and everybody in there is, oh my God. So you see Brian sitting outside, and he's sitting on a little stoop, and Bonnie comes outside, and she's like, hey, we got to talk. And he says, hey, I moved my stuff out of your apartment this afternoon. And she slaps him. And she says, you bastard.
Like, what the hell?
Like, what? And then she's, hey, I'm sorry. And I have interviews set up for you tomorrow. And he's like, no, I'm done. And so they break up, and she walks away. Brian goes back to the restaurant to see Jordan, and he kind of sneaks in, and he sits in a booth, and he sees her walk by, and he goes, excuse me, can you tell me what specials are here? And she turns and she smirks at him, and she goes, what are you doing here? And he says, well, I bet you thought you'd never see me again. And she goes, hoped is a better word. And she's like, can you leave? And he says, well, I won't leave until you let me apologize. And so she's like, okay. So she walks back in the back, and she comes back with 2 plates of food. And she brings out meatloaf mozzarella and chicken a la king. And she pours one over his lap and one over his head. And then she takes a whole bottle of ketchup and just pours it like right in his lap. And
I wish she did this to Bradley Whitmore in
I know,
Adventures in Babysitting.
But maybe
That would have been epic.
Maybe she learned the lesson from him that if you're in a restaurant around food, you should probably pour food on the asshole. He's just sitting there with chicken a la king all over his head. And finally he goes outside. And so he's just crouching in front of the restaurant. and like waiting for her to come out so he can like pounce on her. She walks out and she kind of glances at him like, oh my God. And he pretends like he's blind and he's like, spare change for my dry cleaning. And she's like, yeah, sorry, payday is Friday. And he's like, you wouldn't treat a stray dog like this, would you? And she's like, a stray dog can be loyal. And he goes, all right, I'm a rat and there's no hope for me, but I even have the right to defend myself. At least let me explain. And so they go back to her apartment and she tells him, hey, I saw you leave with this other woman. And she's like, you're an asshole.
So if she
And
doesn't want anything to do with him, why would she introduce him to where she lives? Like,
well,
now he knows where she is. This was not smart. It's New York City. You can go anywhere, any time of night.
yeah, I think she
I
truly,
think she does want to hear from him, though. I think she does want to
But now he
hear.
knows where she lives.
Eh.
If she genuinely did not want
yeah,
anything to do with him, that
I
would
think
not
part
have
of her,
happened.
I think part of her did want something to do with him. It's just that he's an asshole and she knows that.
Right.
And especially considering what's happening is that he tries to explain to her like, hey, Doug wanted me to prove that he wanted to prove that I can't hustle a woman. And she's like, excuse me? So you were just hustling women in Jamaica? That's what you were doing? And he's like,
Oh,
yep.
no, no, no.
No, that's not what I was doing. I just had to hustle that one woman. And he's like, hey, I just got spooked by you because I was really falling for you. And then you kind of mentioned the kids thing and I got spooked. And she's like, yeah, well, I guess I can probably spook you again. And he's like, yeah, I don't think you can. And she goes, well, I'm pregnant
Right.
and I won't burden you.
Gets rid of him.
Yeah, and
Right.
so that's not fair. You let me up here just so you could kick me out, didn't you? And she knew that telling him would be the best way to get him out of her life because she figured he would just run for the hills. So Brian goes back to talk to his Uncle Pat and he's like, hey, I'm going to be a dad. And Uncle Pat is like, yeah, you should just do nothing.
You're right.
She's not coming after you for money.
This was a jaw dropper.
Yeah.
And she's not coming over after you for money. You're obviously not going to marry her. And you don't care about her.
Right.
You could just walk away from this whole thing. And Brian's, what if I do care about her? And Uncle Pat is, then you've got a problem. So another little cringe moment. And so the next scene, you see Brian pounding on Jordan's door because he knows where she lives now. The neighbor comes out and she's like, she's not here. She's at her parents' place. And he's, yeah. Can you tell me where that is? And she's like, yeah, the corner of Park Avenue and 67th. And he's like, Park Avenue? And the lady's like, yeah,
Right.
Park Avenue. So Brian just shows up to the corner of Park Avenue and 67th, which is it's an apartment building. And he goes up to their penthouse. I'm assuming it's the penthouse. It's very fancy. So
Yeah, they
Say it's the penthouse.
They say it is.
okay, so
Yeah.
Jordan's dad comes out to see Brian, and he won't shake Brian's hand.
No,
And
no. He's pissed. He's there.
no, he's pissed. And so Jordan's dad is, you have some nerve to show up here after what you did to my daughter. And Brian's like, I hope that you're not suggesting that I marry her. And Brian says that they have a lot to talk about, but Jordan's dad's like, the hell you do. The hell you do. Jordan doesn't want to see you. She doesn't want to talk to you. How about, I'm just going to give you money. So he kind of walks away from the conversation. He comes back and he hands Brian this check for $10,000. And Brian looks at it and he goes, is that all your daughter is worth? And the dad goes, okay, so how much will it take? And Brian's like, I don't want your goddamn money. You can't buy me out of Jordan's life. And this is when you see Jordan walking through the lobby and she's getting on the elevator and she shows up. So she sees them arguing and she tells him, we can't be together because I know I know that you won't be around in a year. I can't be with you. And so he shows her the check and I guess you'll never know how I really feel about you because you're telling me to go away and your dad's trying to give me money. So I guess I'll just walk away then. So in this scene, Jordan's dad is making such a big deal about how he's just a bartender. Well, he's just a bartender. He can't be with my daughter. But you know what? I mean, he has a job. He makes money. He has his own place. He's not like a total degenerate.
He's not them.
He's not them. Oh, for
Right.
sure.
So, of
So, I mean,
course, he's going to make a big deal about it.
I get it. I've kind of been there.
He's a
So,
blue-collar worker.
right. So Bryan decides to show up at Doug's bar and he sneaks in because apparently you have to be on the guest list
Yeah.
to go in. And so he sneaks in and he goes right to Doug and Doug is like to the security, hey, it's cool. He's allowed to be here. Carrie comes over and she kisses him like inappropriately.
One thing
Yeah,
that kind
she
of got
does
me,
it to everyone.
one thing that got me on this scene was when Coughlin saw Flanagan. He said, "Good to see you, my only friend."
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
out of
But
all
it,
these people that are at his bar opening.
but it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
really, Bryan was his only friend. So Bryan's like, hey, I'm here to beg and plead for a job. And so Carrie kind of looks at him and she's like, oh, it'd be great to have some talent behind the bar. Bryan gave Doug like some kind of bottle of alcohol and they decide, let's go someplace where we can drink this. So they go and they get on Carrie's boat.
Well, they made a bet in Jamaica on this $500 bottle of whiskey with the whole old lady scheme. So this is that $500 bottle of whiskey.
Was it 500 or was it 50? Oh, yeah. You're right. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, so that was the whiskey. And so they go on to Carrie's boat and they start drinking. And Doug tells Bryan like, hey, this is all a facade. We don't have any money. I've spent all of it. And I've not only spent all of my money, I've spent all of Carrie's money too. And Carrie doesn't know that I have spent all of our money. So Bryan's like, well, shit, this isn't good. And then Carrie shows up and she's like, hey, I wondered where you guys kind of went. And she has no idea about what all's going on. And she wants to go home. And he's shit-faced drunk. And he's like, I'm not going home. But we end up seeing Bryan driving her home. So she's like, hey, you've got to walk me up to my apartment. And he's, no, I really need to go back and check on Doug. But she's like, no, I really want to talk to you about what's going on with Doug's problems. And so they go up to their apartment and Carrie just starts coming on to him. And she's like full blown sticking her tongue down his throat. And he pushes her away. And he's, I can't do that to my best friend's old lady. So good job, Bryan, because he could have totally have slept with Doug's wife after what Doug did to him. But this is where we see Bryan go back now to check on Doug. And he gets on the boat and finds Doug dead. And obviously he has unalived himself. And the cops come and they take Doug off the boat. And we see Bryan walking aimlessly down some random streets. Obviously, he's distraught. And we go to Doug's funeral. And it's,
Talk about the lowest of lows. Jeez.
yeah.
Like the girl you're in love with that's pregnant with your kid wants nothing to do with you. Your best friend just offed
dies.
himself. Like
Yeah.
this is not
got-
cocktails and dreams.
Right. And he's got nothing now because he doesn't have a job. And he's everything has just really backfired. Bryan ends up getting a letter from Carrie that contains a letter that Doug actually left for him. And in the letter, it's just like, hey, thanks for being my friend, blah, blah, blah. And it says, Coughlin's Law, bury the dead. They stink up the place. So the letter is basically, hey, sorry I, unalived myself. It was really my only way out. And thanking him for being his friend. So Bryan now goes back to the apartment where Jordan's parents live, and he tries to, the security guard is like, no, they don't want you here. You got to go. You need to leave. And so he does this move where he looks like he's leaving, but then an elevator door opens up. So he runs and he gets into the elevator, and the security guard can't get on fast enough to catch him. So he runs into the apartment and finds Jordan and tells her, hey, Doug is dead. He killed himself. And Bryan was like, he was my best friend, but he was too proud to let me help him. And I don't want to make the same mistakes. I've saved money and my uncle's going to give me a loan. I know that with hard work, I can turn this into something great. And she's like, yeah, I know you can. And he's like, I love you and I want to marry you. And this whole time that this conversation is going on, now the butler, the dad, the security people, they're all pounding on this door that Bryan and Jordan have locked themselves behind. And the dad is like, you better let us in. And he's like, Jordan, are you okay? And Bryan is like, I want to marry you and I've loved you since the moment that I first saw you. And so Jordan kind of fights with her dad. They come out of the door and I'm going with him. And the dad is like, if you leave, I'm done. I want nothing to do with this. And so the security guard ends up punching Bryan, and Jordan pushes the security guard, and they kind of run and get on the elevator, and Bryan looks at the dad and he's like, it didn't have to be this way. And the dad's like, yeah, well, you're on your own. And Bryan's like, yeah, it's the only way I want it. So we fast forward, we're at Uncle Pat's bar, and Bryan and Jordan have gotten married. So they're happy. And this is where they say to each other, Jordan says, you're probably going to want to divorce me in 3 weeks. Oh, no, that was Bryan. You're probably going to want to divorce me in 3 weeks. And she's like, yeah, probably. And then she goes, no, you're going to want to divorce me. I'm going to be all fat and ugly. And he says,
fuck?
just as long as you're not too fat. And she goes, I'm going to be very fat and you're going to love it. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. She's pregnant, bro. Come on. Now we see the outside of a bar called Flanagan's Cocktails and Dreams. Bryan is behind the bar, and the guests that are all there are like, hey, we want a poem. So obviously, Bryan has bought his bar. All of his dreams have come true. We see Jordan there. She's very pregnant. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll do a poem. So he jumps up on the bar and he says, this poem is called Advice to My Unborn Child. If Jordan gives birth to a fine Irish son, there will be cocktails and dreams for him to one day run. A business that shall yield the financial windfall, to be franchised in every suburban shopping mall. If a daughter arrives to bless our clan, I guess the shit will finally hit the fan. But this I shall promise to thee, I'll never let her marry a guy like me. Still, if our child is the naughtiest of girls or the wildest of young men, I swear I'll be the best dad that I can and never ever get spooked again. And she said, so Jordan comes over and she's kind of hugging him, and
Very pregnant.
she's very pregnant, and she says, oh, you'll never get spooked again. I bet I can spook you. And he's like, no. And so she whispers in his ear and he goes, twins? And he's very happy. And he's like, drinks around the house. And everyone's like, no. And he's like, okay, bar is open. And
Wait,
roll.
what? Hold on.
Yeah, right.
The uncle yells no.
The uncle has
Yeah,
extraordinary.
Not
The
everyone.
uncle's, no.
No, and then bar is open.
Bar is open and roll credits.
Right. And that, folks, is Cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a whirlwind of situations there.
It is.
How did he not know it was twins before this opening night? Was this still an era where women just went to the OB on their own?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably. And did they have ultrasound back then? Not what we have today.
No. And you didn't get ultrasounds. You got ultrasounds were very few and far between.
Right.
They didn't happen very often
Okay.
at all. Nowadays, you can just do one yourself at home.
You can go to a strip mall and get one.
Yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't like that.
What, you're just poking around your belly, feeling how many butts there are?
I just think she had a midterm, like, ultrasound. And it was like, oh, you got 2 in there.
Mhm.
That's all.
Well, good for them.
Yeah.
I wonder if they grew up to be Scientologists.
Most likely. Yeah.
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 I want to like this movie because I do, at the heart of it, get the story and I get the sentiment of it, but it's completely lost. It's completely lost in segmented scenes, maybe overly edited scenes, like things that don't even make sense.
Yes.
The relationship between Doug and Bryan is super confusing.
Very.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm gonna say it's kind of cringe. I I don't know. I'm definitely not rewatching this. It's definitely not a rewatch for me. So I'm gonna give it like a 2 out of 5 on the cringe scale. And yeah, I'm not. I'm definitely not rewatching it.
I'm going to agree on a 2 out of 5. And I am also not rewatching. Because now that I've watched it twice, I don't like the amount of masculinity in there and the degrading of women. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my cringe to 3.
Okay, totally cringe.
Yeah, I'm like a 2.5.
Okay.
I yeah, the male egos and the sort of emotional abuse and playing with women, I am not a fan of.
Okay, good point. Good point.
I also wish there were better transitions between scenes to explain what was really going on. It just kind of
Yeah.
jumped from one thing to another without explanation. So it leaves you with a lot of questions, which sure, good screenplays will leave you with some good questions, but not like chunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will not be rewatching. I really also did want to really like the movie, but no, I like the actors in it, but yeah, I feel the screenplay should have been tweaked.
Hey, right. I mean, and the soundtrack slaps.
Sure.
But I'll put that on my Apple playlist.
Yeah. Great music, good-looking people. Screenplay
Yeah,
needs
but
work.
the Beach Boys really misled us. I
They
believe in their
did.
music video.
I blame the Beach
I
Boys.
blame the Beach Boys. What are your thoughts, Janine?
So I'm going to give it a 3 on the cringe meter.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I think that the fact that they focus this on let's find a rich old lady to fund our bar, and the fact Uncle Pat saying that, hey, you got a girl pregnant, but you should just walk
Oh.
away from her.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
change mine to a 3.
The fact
yeah.
that
Yeah.
the fact that, oh, how many orgasms do you want? And now I'm going to take you back to your apartment and roll around with you in your bed. That's pretty cringy.
Yeah.
The obituary about how he's 99, but he's bedding his
99.
18-year-old wife. Like nowadays, that is super disgusting, especially with what's going on in the world. That's just not okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's just so many parts that you're like, yike. The fact that they kind of make all these women out to be really stupid. And
When all the women in the movie were the ones with the money.
right. And the part where Bonnie goes to where Bryan is staying and she's like, oh, my business would go under if you just walk away from me. You had sex with him one time, lady.
Right.
Yeah.
And you own this successful business. What the hell are you talking about?
That's a major red flag right there. You
Yeah.
have issues, lady.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, super cringy for me. I don't know.
Are you rewatching it?
No, not at all. And the part where they're at their wedding reception at the bar and, oh, you're going to want to divorce me because I'm going to be fat and ugly. Pregnant women are gorgeous. And the fact
Word.
that they're kind of like, yeah, just as long as you're not too fat. No, you're not fat. You're growing a human being. Okay? So that's cringy to me. Yeah, I would give it a solid 3 for cringiness for me, and definitely not rewatching it. It does nothing for me. There's no parts that I'm like, this was really awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Like in Adventures
Yeah.
in Babysitting, you're like, okay, but like that bar scene when they sing the blues, like that is so
Right.
awesome.
You can pick something out.
There's no part of this that you're like, but that one scene is like so good.
Yeah. There's this
not,
memorable piece of this movie, and it's no, the entire
Yeah.
thing is forgettable. Yeah.
There's just-
Agreed.
it's not good. I don't
Agreed.
know. Not rewatching it, and it's pretty cringy.
Okay. And there we have it with Cocktail. I'm really excited because our next episode, we're going to be in person.
Yes.
Which is so exciting. So we'll actually be able to post video of this on YouTube. Instead of just the
Yay.
audio. So that's really exciting for us.
So for our listeners, if you really wanted to see what we look like,
That'll be the episode.
Yeah.
For sure.
Are we also having a special guest?
Who
Well,
knows?
We might.
Right. We
I don't
might have,
know.
but you'd
I
have
don't
to
know. We'll
tune
see.
in. You'd
Yeah.
have to tune in and find out.
How exciting.
Very.
Thanks for hanging out with us in the nostalgic chaos that is the Shermer High Alumni Association. We're glad you rewound it with us.
If you laughed, cringed, or yelled, wait, that was problematic at any point, you're officially one of us now.
Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, or that weird app your cousin swears by.
Also, check out our new website, shaapodcast.com. There you can listen to past episodes, check out our show notes, and even vote in our weekly Cringe Meter poll. Again, that is shaapodcast.com.
And if you loved this episode, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review. Until next time, remember, bury the dead. They stink up the joint.
Amen.